I intended to give some overview remarks on investments and jobs, the opportunities and challenges in the both energy efficiency and what we call the clean energy sector. This is a great opportunity. The electric utilities and gas utilities that we regulate at the Commission are projecting huge amounts of dollars to be invested in infrastructure over the next 10 to 20 years. So there's a tremendous need for capital. It's going up nationally on the order from about 65 billion up to 85, 90 billion nationally. These are huge numbers. That's just for the electric sector. This is both to replace the current fleet of generation, coal, nuclear, hydro, but it's also to replace and modernize the T&D, what we call the T&D structure, the transmission and distribution infrastructure, which was put in place 20, 30 years ago and is nearing the end of its useful life. In addition to this, if we really go to a greenhouse gas reductions regime, there will be a large amount of capital devoted to environmental compliance, whether it's scrubbers on coal plants, relicensing of nuclear plants, building more wind generators, and complying, frankly, with a host of government regulations, both at the federal and state level. It's going to cost money. There are tremendous opportunities. However you want to define green, clean, it's basically comes down to wind, solar, biomass, geothermal. That's important technologies, but right now they're generally more expensive. So they're up in the, they don't meet the cost-effective standard that the Commission applies when we approve rates, at least not necessarily. So natural gas is really the fuel of the margin now. That is the most cost-effective resource right now, although energy efficiency is even more cost-effective than that. Other opportunities are in transmission. And I don't know how many of you have been involved in building the transmission lines. We are going to need a lot of transmission lines to connect these new technologies to load. Some of the best wind sites tend to be on the eastern side of the state or in Montana. Guess where the load is, folks? The load's here. It's on the western side of the Cascades. We're going to need new pipeline infrastructure for natural gas. That's an opportunity for jobs. Distributed generation is another area of opportunity where consumers through net metering can build their own generation at home, relatively small, but there will be a whole body of work built up around what we call DG, distributed generation. So generally, I guess my point on the opportunity is lots of capital, lots of money, but the skill sets and the work is going to be different than the electric generation and transmission grid over the past 20, 30 years. What are some of the major challenges as I see them? One, this transition is not going to happen overnight. This stuff is expensive, can be expensive, costs need to come down. Commissions like ours are going to examine very carefully the rate impacts to make sure that the industrial customers, commercial and residential customers are not unfairly impacted by all this stuff. Second, this does not necessarily mean more jobs. They're going to be different jobs. For example, smart grid, metering. You all hear a lot about smart meters. There have been a number of studies done that show that if you really put a smart meter system and deploy it across the utility, there will be a net loss of jobs because the traditional meter readers and the people involved with driving by and picking up the meter read, those jobs are going away, okay? Wind plants. We're surrounded here at a nuclear plant that wasn't finished. These nuclear plants create a lot of jobs, both to build them and operate them. Wind plants don't necessarily do that compared to a nuclear plant or a coal plant. So I just think we need to keep in mind that some of these new technologies may not create as many jobs in the jobs that we're traditionally thinking of. And again, so I come back to my point is different skill sets are needed. The jobs are all over the place. I mean, they're in but they're different from the trades and the jobs that we've traditionally had. So we're going to, for example, in the energy efficiency area, we're going to need a lot more auditors, inspectors, installers, and things like that, not people running a coal plant or running a nuclear plant. And frankly, at the commission too, we have a turnover. This is a pet story of mine that I've been preaching for the past 5 years. My generation, I'm in my 50s, is getting older. You know, I'm going to be retiring soon, but the new generation of people, both regulators, the utilities, we're all facing a tremendous challenge, and I know we harp on this every year, but it's true. So we need to do a much better job, and it's a real challenge to train the new people and for people who have responsibility now to mentor them.